Hello my crochet friends, it's Yobi here today, and in this video I'm sharing with you everything related to double crochet. Double crochet is the name of this stitch in US, but in Australia, UK and India that's called treble crochet or triple crochet. To work this stitch, we need a foundation chain that is formed by any number of chains. When we are checking written patterns, if we have a written pattern that uses American terms, the abbreviation is going to be DC, and if the written pattern uses a UK terms, the abbreviation is TR. If we check a crochet chart, this is the symbol that identifies the double crochet. Now I'm going to explain you the pattern that we are working on in this tutorial. In this tutorial, we are working on this pattern, and as you know, this arrow marks the beginning of our work, that we can relate this to the loose end of the yarn in our slip knot. These symbols correspond to chains, so in this case I have colored in black the foundation chain, and as an example I'm going to use a foundation chain of 10 chains, and here in red I have marked the double crochet. As you can see here, in every chain we are going to make one double crochet. If we observe the beginning of this row, we have replaced the double crochet with 3 chains. Why with 3 chains? Because the turning chain of a double crochet is 3 chains. In this case, the turning chain counts as 1 double crochet. This is very important to remember. So we are going to begin working the first 10 chains of our foundation chain plus 3 chains more of our turning chain. As we have seen in the previous stitches, we read the foundation chain from the left to the right, in the first row we are going to read from the right to the left. Here I have the chains that correspond to the foundation chain plus the turning chain. We are going to begin working the first double crochet in the 5th chain counted from our hook. Okay, this is the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Here in the 5th we begin working. This chain I'm going to call as the base chain. Why the base chain? Because this is the base where it is built this turning chain that replaces our first double crochet. So we are going to begin working the first row on the 5th chain. Why? Because the first 3 chains correspond to the turning stitch, this one corresponds to the base chain, and here is where I'm going to make the double crochet. For this, I'm going to place the chain, and it's going to rest in my middle finger, and my thumb is going to be located very close to the base or to the beginning of this chain. With this, I'm going to gain some stability. Then, for the double crochet, we yarn over, then we introduce the hook through the front loop of this chain. Here I'm going to yarn over and we are going to pull up a loop of a height of 2 chains. Then I have 3 loops on my hook. Then in this position we yarn over and pull the loop of the yarn over through the first 2 loops on my hook. Now I have 2 loops on my hook, then I yarn over again and I'm going to pull the loop of the yarn over through the last 2 loops on my hook. Now our second double crochet is done. Why is the second? Because the turning chain counts as the first double crochet. If you are a beginner, I would recommend you to mark the 3rd chain of the turning chain. With this, you are going to avoid to miss this stitch when we are making the 2nd row. So here I'm going to work the next double crochet in the next chain. So again I'm going to place my fingers very close to the base of the previous double crochet. Then in this position I'm going to yarn over. Now I secure this loop with my middle finger, move my thumb and my middle finger so that I can see the chain where I'm working, okay? And here I'm going to introduce my hook through the front loop of this chain. Then in this position I'm going to yarn over. Then I'm going to pull a loop through this gap. The loop has to have a height of approximately 2 chains. Now I have 3 loops on my hook. Then in this position I'm going to yarn over and pull the loop of the yarn over through the first 2 loops on my hook. Then I yarn over again and pull the loop of the yarn over through the next 2 loops. And now this is the 3rd double crochet. I'm going to continue working in the same way and meet you at the end of the row. Here I'm almost at the end of this row, and in the first row you have to verify not forgetting the last chain. For this, try to find where is the slip knot that you have used at the beginning and check that in the chain that is before the slip knot you have worked the double crochet. So in this case we still miss to work the double crochet in this chain. I'm going to do that. Okay, and now the first row of double crochet is ready. So now we are here. This is the last single crochet that we work, and for the next row we are going to begin with a turning chain that replace the first double crochet. We read the second row from the left to the right in this direction. So on top of this double crochet, I'm going to make the turning chain, and the next double crochet is going to be on top of the double crochet of the previous row. Okay? Before beginning with the second row, we should count that we have the same number of stitches than the number of chains in our foundation chain. We had 10 chains, so we should have 10 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, I also count this one of our first turning chain because you know that the turning chain replaces the first double crochet. Don't forget that one stitch is represented by this V shape for these two strings. Okay, these two represent one stitch. So now let's continue with the second row. We start with the turning chain. For this we make 3 chains. Okay, and now we are going to turn our work like that. And here I want to make you notice where we are going to introduce our hook. So if we look in this direction, we can see better the stitches. So here I see the 3 chains that correspond to the turning chain, and here this is the last double crochet. This last double crochet acts as a base stitch of this turning chain. So here we don't work, we are going to work in the next one here. Okay, so if we turn a little bit in this position, what I explained to you means that we don't work here in this gap because this corresponds to the first double crochet. We are going to work here. Okay, this one is the base stitch and this one is where it corresponds that we work. In this position, again, my work is resting on my middle finger and the thumb is very close to the gap where I'm going to introduce my hook. So in this position, I'm going to yarn over, then I introduce my hook through this gap, you know, this intersection, we see it here, through this we are going to introduce the hook. And we should verify that we are taking both loops of the stitch. Okay, this is different because we are building the second row on top of the first row. So here in this position, I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull up a loop. The height of this loop is the equivalent of 2 chains. Then we have 3 loops on our hook. Here I yarn over and pull this loop of the yarn over through the first 2 loops on my hook. And then I yarn over again and pull the loop of the yarn over through the next 2 loops. Okay, this is our second double crochet, and the first one has been replaced by this turning chain. Again, as a beginner, I would recommend you to place a stitch marker on top of the third chain so that we don't miss this in the next row. We are going to continue working, so again we yarn over, introduce the hook through the next gap, check that you are taking both sides of the stitch. Here we yarn over and come out through the gap. We are going to pull a loop in a height of 2 chains. Then we yarn over and we are going to pull this loop of the yarn over through the first 2 loops on my hook. And here I yarn over again and pull this through the next 2 loops. Now I have the third double crochet. I'm going to continue like that until the end of the row. So here we are in the last 2 stitches of our row. So here in this gap I'm going to work the next double crochet. I have already yarn over. Now I introduce my hook, check that I have the 2 parts of the stitch, then yarn over and come out through this loop. I have 3 loops on my hook. Then I yarn over and pull the loop of the yarn over through the first 2 loops, then yarn over and pull the loop of the yarn over through the next 2 loops. Now I'm going to work the last double crochet. For that I remove my stitch marker, and here I just want to call your attention, okay? So if you notice here, the stitch marker was placed here in this loop, right? Here. Do you notice that there is a loop that is forming a 6 number, or this loop, it makes a kind of a 6, these tiny loops that I'm trying to mark. Okay, so we are going to introduce the hook under this loop, so like that. Can you notice? I hope that with the green yarn you can notice better. This is the position where I'm going to introduce my hook for the last double crochet. Okay, so now first I yarn over, then I introduce my hook through this loop. Okay, you notice it's under. Then here in this position I'm going to yarn over and come out through this gap and pull a loop in the size or in the height of 2 chains, then yarn over and pull this through the first 2 loops on my hook, then yarn over again and pull it through the next 2 loops. And now I have completed the second row. Before going to the next row, we should count that we have the correct number of stitches. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Remember that the loop that it is on our hook, that is called the working loop, should not be counted. Now we are here, okay? And for the third row, we are going to read this pattern from the right to the left. Since we are beginning a new row, we are going to replace the first double crochet with 3 chains that correspond to our turning chain. And then we are going to work 1 double crochet on top of the double crochet of the previous row. So let's begin with the first 3 chains that correspond to the turning chain. Here we turn our work, and again we should see where we introduce our hook. So now we should see where to introduce our hook. This one corresponds to the last double crochet of the previous row and is acting as a base stitch of the turning chain. So we don't work here, we are going to work here in the next double crochet. So here is where we are going to introduce our hook. Then first we yarn over, then I introduce my hook through this gap and check that I have the 2 parts of the stitch on my hook. Then here I yarn over and come out through this gap. I pull up a loop in the height of 2 chains approximately. Then in this position I yarn over and pull it through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull this through the next 2 loops. And this is the second double crochet. The first one has been replaced by this turning chain. Before moving forward, please place the stitch marker so you don't miss the location where you have to introduce your hook for the last stitch of the next row. Then I'm going to continue working double crochet and meet you at the end of the row. So here I'm at the end of this row. To work the last stitch, I'm going to remove the stitch marker. And again, I should focus where I'm going to introduce my hook. My stitch marker was placed here. And if you see here, we have this loop that has a 6 number. It formed like a 6 number or a loop. Then the hook is going to be under these 2 loops, okay, taking the whole 6. Can you see it better? I hope, like so. Okay, so first I yarn over, then here I'm just going to introduce my hook through this, then yarn over and come out through this gap, pulling a loop. You know the height of this loop is 2 chains, then we yarn over and pull it through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull it through the last 2 loops. And with this we have concluded the 3rd row. Here I have added some extra row so that you can see how the stitch looks like. I would recommend you that you also add additional row until you get really familiar with the movement of the double crochet, and maybe in the extra rows you can try to avoid using the stitch marker so that you get familiar with the shape or the location of this little loop that form the number 6. It is just a suggestion, but if you cannot distinguish still this loop, so I will suggest you to continue using the stitch markers, because in this way you ensure that no single stitch will be missed. That's all what I have for you, my friends. Let me know down below in your comments if you have enjoyed the video. If you have any question, also leave me a comment down below. You know that I love reading your comments. If you like the video or you have learned something new, please give thumbs up to the video. And I wish you a very nice day and see you next time. Bye!